Uh-oh. Hold on a second. Okay. So just one thing. Ooh. Oh, there we go. Okay. I think we are ready to go. Oh. Okay. Okay, we'll chant Arunodaya Kirtan by Bhaktivinoda Thakur, which is also known as Udila Arya. Okay. Udila Aruna Puravapage Jamani Korahamani Udila Aruna Puravapage Jamani Korahamani Bakata Samuala Satege Gelanagarabrase Tatai Tatai Jalako Gunakanatai Danjero Reme Daladala Sanalanga Nenu Furavaze Preme Dadala Anga Karamenu Furavaze Kuna Magava Hari Unina Bonore Vatana Pore Say, Yellow Rate, Ivasha Zarira, Mona Diulaba, Manavadeo, Bayaki Koro, Bakelio, Evina Bashele, Shoda Suda. Ramai bore me jay Udita chapana hoile asta Nagele bole oile asta Sabe que no ebe alla saboile Na pachare doia jay Ivananechat Asa Aknana Vinan Ipanapan Namashayat Koritaran Umi Lakabana Jivira Kalyana Sana Kau Shakateya Sematu Panarupe, Rikadene Virase, Krishna Namashuda, Koryapan, Jurabaka, Divino, the Pran, Mina Kichu, Mara, Jonah Vana, Jay. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Hare Bol. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Bharavidakacharya Osutela Sajashi Shimad His Divine Grace Abhaya Chananada Bhaktivedanta Goswami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Anantakoti Vaishnav Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Ram Say Gaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shitweda Gadadha Shivasati Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopi Gopinath Sai Makunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavan Ki Jai Mathuradam Ki Jai Jagannath Swami Ki Jai Yamunamai Ki Jai Shrimati Tulasi Devi Ki Jai Samveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Gaur Premananda Hari Hari Bol. All glory is the assembled devotees. All glory is the assembled devotees. All glory is the assembled devotees. All glory is to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Namani. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharni Nibhishesha Shunyavadi Paschachate Shatarni. So let me read the translation. When the rising sun appeared in the east, the jewel of the twice-born Lord Gauranga awakened. Gathering his devotees around him, he set out to preach in the countryside, towns, and villages. Tatai, tatai sounded the mridanga drums, and the cymbals chimed in time. Lord Gaurasundara's shimmering golden features danced, and his ankle bells jingled. Mukunda Madhava Yadava Hari chanted the devotees, their mouths filled with vibrations. Calling out, they preached to those still sleeping. You spend your nights uselessly sleeping and your days decorating your bodies. Although you have achieved a rare human birth, you do not care for this precious gift. Instead, you refrain from serving the darling of Yashoda and slowly fall through your last moments to death. With every rising and setting of the sun, a day passes and is lost. Why then do you remain idle and not serve the Lord of the heart? This life is temporary and full of various miseries. Take shelter, the holy name is your only business. To penetrate the darkness of ignorance and bless everyone's heart, the sweet holy name has risen like the shining sun. Drink deeply the pure nectar of Krishna's holy name, which is the life and soul of Bhakti Vinod. The holy names aside, there is nothing to be had in all the 14 worlds. Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai. So, we're going to continue with our reading of the Jaiva Dharma, which is also by Bhakti Vinod Thakur. And we're in a very interesting section of the Jaiva Dharma. So, without further ado, let's go to Jaiva Dharma. Om Magana Timhirandasha Gananjana Shlakya Chakshur Unmeditam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of my spiritual master, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, who so kindly opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge while I was blinded in the darkness of ignorance. Well, thank you all for joining us. So, now we're going to share the screen, as we normally do. And here we go. Jaiva Dharma. Okay, I think that works out. They set up the chat window in case someone has a heart attack during the class, and they can text me, which would be interesting. All right, so on that happy note, let's continue. Let's see where we. Oh, here we go. So let's begin with the end of the paragraph, or the new paragraph here. So what's being discussed here is the Lord's glance in which he created the material universe. And due to that glance, the living entities entered into the material universe, or universes, and also the ingredients, that is the pradhana, for all of the material universes emanated from the Lord's body. And the Lord we're talking about here is the Mahavishnu, or the sometimes called the Karana Daksha Vishnu. Karana means the cause of the Vishnu who lies in the Karna ocean. Okay, not the cause of him, but he is the cause of everything in the material world. Okay. So, Shakti, of course, refers to the Lord's energy. So when the Shakti of the Lord's glancing, that's Mahavishnu, looking at Maya. Maya, in this particular sense, means the material energy. He is Garbhodakshay Vishnu. That's the glance is actually, well, the Shakti comes from yes, and then Garbhodakshay Vishnu is also put into the material universe through the glance of the Lord, as well as the living entities. But the methodology by which the living entities are put in the material world is through Shambhu, or Lord Shiva, who consorts with the material energy. And if you're interested in more details about that, read the Brahma Samhita, the commentary by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. The atomic rays in the spiritual glance of Mahavishnu, so also the rays in the glance, are us, the bound jivas. In the heart of each jiva there is Shirodakshai, or Hiranyagarbha, which is the same thing. Shirodakshai means, actually, Shira means milk, so because he also resides in the milk ocean, a condensed milk, of course. So, Hiranyagarbha means golden womb. Anyway, and he measures the size of a thumb. That's interesting. Sometimes the size is indicated a little bit different. But of course, it depends also on the size of your body. Like a cockroach's thumb. Do cockroaches have thumbs? I'm not sure. But if a cockroach had a thumb, the size of Paramount will be smaller. It's probably because the thumb of our body is quite bigger than many cockroaches, although I've met quite a few cockroaches that are as big as my hand. So that's Paramatma. Paramatma is indicated as Paramatma in the Vedic statements like Dwasaparna Sayuja Sakaya. Their two birds are situated on the branch of a tree. So this indicates that the Lord and the Jiva are situated together. One bird in the form of the Lord gives results of karma to the Jiva, who is the other bird experiencing the results of karma. It also means Sayuja Sakaya, that means he's your friend. So he's giving you the results and also giving you, according to the Gita, the Super Soul is giving us what? Intelligence, remembrance, and forgetfulness. And he's directing the one, according to another verse in the Gita, what is it? Ishwara Sarvabhutanam Pradesha Arjuna Tishtati Brahmayan Sarvabhutani Yantra Rudani Maya. He's directing the wanderings of the living entities through intelligence, forgetfulness, and remembrance. Got it. So in the Gita, it is said, here's another verse from the Bhagavad Gita, 10th chapter, Yad yad vimuti vatsa tvam shrimadurjitameva tatariva vakacha tam mamatenjo shi sha sambhavan. Whatever object in past, present, or future displays majesty, beauty, or strength, know that it's arisen from just a fragment of my power. So, of course, the 10th chapter is the opulence of the absolutes. So, Krishna, in this particular chapter of the Gita, gives a whole list of the different opulences, vibhutis, that he has in this world, like, immovable things on the Himalayas, of aquatics on the shark, And so these are all just simply manifestations or an indication of how great God is. And at the end of the chapter, getting towards the end, Krishna says, what if the use, here's the next verse, which is what I was just going to mention. Atavahu na tena kim gatena dvarjuna vishtabhyaham idam krishnam ekam shena sato jagat. This is the verse I just made reference to. Well, what is the use of knowing all these individual vibhutis, Arjuna? Please understand that just by one portion of myself, I am firmly established in this universe. And of course, another translation, I pervade this universe. That's Bhagavad Gita, 10th chapter, text 42. Thus, the Supreme Lord enters the universe as Paramatma's Angsha. That's right. And manifests his lordship as creator and maintainer of the universe. So, in this particular case, Paramatma, Paramatma generally means the Lord of the heart. But in this particular case, if you say the Lord in the heart is Paramatma's Angsha, well, it's expansion. Yeah, it's partial. Another way of understanding it is that there's the universal Paramatma, which is the Garbhodakshay Vishnu. Garbhodakshay Vishnu has his Amsha as the Shuddhadakshay Vishnu. Okay. Rajana said, I've understood that Brahman is the effulgence of Bhagavan Hari, and Paramatma is his Amsha, or expansion. Paramatma is the Lord of the heart. Got it? Lord in every atom. Bhagavan Hari is Krishna. What is the Praman? What is the evidence? So this whole chapter is about Praman. Evidence, evidence, evidence. Show me the evidence. This is court. Give me the evidence that Bhagavan Hari, the Supreme Lord, is Krishna. What is the evidence for that? So, as remember we talked before that Pramana means evidence. There's different types of evidence, which I may be giving the Sunday Feast lecture about. I thought it was quite interesting, the different types of evidence and the problems with all the different types of evidence, except for the pramana, which is called Shabda Pramana. That means hearing the Vedic literature is given to us by disciplic succession. Got it. Whoops. So what is the pramana? What is the evidence? The incontrovertible evidence. That means evidence that you can't contradict. That there's no other reason. There's no reason to doubt it. That the Supreme Lord, Bhagavan Hari, is Krishna. Okay. The Babaji said, Bhagavan is always endowed with power and sweetness. In his powerful manifestation, he is the Amshi of Mahavishnu, Narayan, master of Vaikuntha. Okay. Amshi means the cause of. There's Amsha, which is the expansion. Amshi is the cause of the expansion. Okay. So Krishna is the cause of the expansion of Mahavishnu, Narayan, master of Vaikuntha. Bhagavan manifests as Narayan for pastimes of power. In other words, Krishna manifests as Narayan when he wants to show pastimes of power. In his sweet manifestation, Bhagavan is Krishna. So when Krishna wants to manifest his sweetness, he appears in his original form as Krishna in Vrindavan. Not so much power there. I mean, one time, we have to go around hill, a little power there. Insignificant power. No. Sometimes, but it's generally, there's a general explanation. Sometimes you see Krishna do things that are really powerful. But the killing of the demons in Vrindavan is all done through Krishna's expansion. Vishnu expansion. Krishna is the height of all sweetness. His sweetness is so strong that by one ray of his sweetness, all his powers are covered. What an interesting way to explain Krishna. By the one ray, such an interesting, we should remember this. One ray of Krishna's sweetness, all of his powers are covered. Try to understand. his power, super strong. His power being the most intelligent, his power, all this becomes covered because he loves more than anything else relationship. His sweetness is in relationship with his devotees, his energies and his devotees, his shaktis, the internal shakti, for example. Srimati Radharani, who's the original Adi Shakti, who's the original Shakti, and he manifests his sweetness in relationship with her, with the gopis, and with all of his parts and parcels. So that's definitely not Paricranaya Sadhunam Vinashaya Chadushkritam. Those are not sweet activities. They're nice activities. You might say it's sweet that Krishna protects the devotees, annihilates the miscreants, establishes religious. But you would say that. But sweetness in this particular case means like sweet, sweet, sweet intimacy. Like sometimes you say about, let's say, a little child who, just like cute little child, at least hopefully he's not crying or spitting up or passing anything. So he or she giggles a little and says, "Oh, isn't that so sweet?" Because it's intimate. So this is the intimate sweetness. So by one ray of Krishna's sweetness, all his powers are covered. Now, one thing you'll notice in this book that the pronouns, especially when the pronoun refers to Krishna, the he or his is not capitalized, as should be the standard, the standard Prabhupada established, but anyway, it's not done in this particular book. In terms of Siddhanta, Narayan and Krishna are not different. The word Siddhanta means perfect, conclusion, or the end of perfection. Okay, end of perfection means, the perfect conclusion. Like Vedanta means the end or the conclusion of the Vedas. So anyway, Narayan and Krishna, that's mentioned in the Brahma Samhita, and that's one of the verses I quote all the time. You've heard from me 1,000 times. Advaita Chuta Nadi Radhanta Rupa Madhyam Purana Purusham Davayovanam Cha. There's one God, and he appears in various guises. So when he wants to be sweet, Krishna Vrindavan. When he wants to be heavy and kill the demons, then Narayan and Vishnu. But they're the same person. In terms of Siddhanta, Narayan and Krishna are not different, but in terms of ras, they're different. But in the spiritual world, for tasting ras, Krishna is the reservoir of all ras. Personifying ras is the most excellent tattva. Tattva, of course, means the category of God, the most excellent manifestation of God. So that's interesting. So when we talk about Advaita, oneness between Krishna and all his incarnations, that's Tattva. That's Siddhanta. But when we talk about Ras, Krishna is not the same as his incarnations. Ras means taste, or taste specifically in relationship. Thus, the Rig Veda says, this is really interesting stuff, not too philosophical for you, hopefully. Apasham gopamani padyamanama chaparacha pantibishcharantam sa sadrache sa vishuchur chir vasana avat rivati bhuvaneshanta. I saw a young coward boy who is infallible, who moves on the paths. He is clothed in many robes and at other times differently dressed. In this way, he is repeatedly appearing and disappearing in this universe. And that's the Rig Veda! That is called Shruti. It's one of what's considered by scholars one of the original Vedic literatures. So if someone says, I just accept Shruti, okay, here he is. Krishna is there in the Shruti, the Rig Veda, Prabhu. Now, also, there's another verse in the Chandogya Upanishad. Shaimach chavalam prapadye Shavalat Chaimam Rapadje. I surrender to the dark blue Lord. That's Shama. Like Shama Sundara. Krishna. Sundara means beautiful. Shama means beautiful. Means blue. Beautiful blue Lord. Shama Sundara. How about that? Shama Sundara. You beautiful dark Lord Krishna. I surrender to his variegated qualities. He has many qualities. Surrendering to his qualities, I surrender to him. Prapadye. Surrender, surrender, surrender. That's interesting. Mam mekam sharanam braja. Sarvadamam purichaja. So the next verse from the Bhagavatam, a very similar verse. Ete changsha kalakpumsa Krishnas tu Bhagavan Swayam. There are amshas and kalas of the Lord, but Krishna, there may be different types of expansions. But Krishna is Bhagavan himself. Well, let's give a little different translation. Ete changsha, all the other incarnations of the Lord are parts and parcels of Krishna, and Krishna is the original Supreme Personality of Godhead. It's a little bit different translation. Both are accurate. Another verse from the Gita, Matak Parataram Nanya Kinchirasti Dhananjaya. Nothing superior to me, O Arjuna, Bhagavad Gita 7:7. And something from the Upanishads. Wow. Which is called the Gopal Tapani Upanishad. Eko Vashi Sarvaga Krishna Ijakyo Bisan Bahudayo Bhati. Krishna is supreme, all-pervading, and most worthy of praise. Though he is one, he is also many. So even the word Krishna is there, you see. So that's from the Upanishad. So this is evidence. This is praman. It's called Vedic praman, Shabda praman, Shruti praman. It means hearing praman, Vedic evidence, and Shabda, hearing. Sound vibrations, sound vibration evidence. Roger, because previously we established the Vedas are incontrovertible evidence. Of all the different pramanas, the Vedic version, understood through the lens of a pure devotee in disciplic succession, is the ultimate understanding. So, Brajanath said, Krishna is a medium size. How can he be all-pervading? He has a body, so he wants to be limited. This is a standard argument that atheists give. If you say God has a body, that he's limited, Prabhu. So basically, if God is to be unlimited, like you say, unlimited, he's all-pervading, so how can he have a body? If one accepts that he has a body, he will be restricted in one place. Many faults of deficiency appear. He will be subject to the gunas. He will not be independent. How can these faults be avoided in Krishna? Krishna is a medium size. Of course, we shouldn't really say he has a body. He is his body. Because his body is spiritual. It's non-different. No duality. The same as himself. Babaji answers, you have these doubts. He's chastising his disciple here by trapping yourself in material concepts. As long as you are bound by material gunas, you cannot touch the Shuddha Sattva. Shuddha Sattva is the pure mode of goodness. Deliberating on Shuddha Sattva at this time, you will impose material gunas of material forms upon it. In other words, if you try to contemplate spirituality with your limited understanding, vision, you will actually impose your material concepts, which are composed of gunas, on, mentally. So in other words, that's the problem with sahaja. If one is bound by the gunas, now I'm really going to be direct about this, and some of you are not going to like this. So please tune out if you don't like this. We don't want to offend any of you. We want to give you a chance to save yourself from offenses. So anyway, this is really important. So as long as we are bound by the gunas, influenced by the gunas, controlled by the gunas, as long as you find yourself sometimes ignorant, you're sleeping at night forgetful, it's ignorance. Pure devotee doesn't experience things like that. Ooh. So please don't take offense that I'm saying you're in ignorance sometimes. But if you're in ignorance, you're the one who has to figure that out. I am not going to point the finger at you. Definitely not going to point the finger. So if you experience ignorance sometimes, if you experience unhappiness, material unhappiness sometimes, if you experience fear, material fear sometimes, you are bound to a certain extent by the material gunas. Be honest, Prabhu, or Pravi, as the case may be. So you can't shoot a shot with that point. So if you try to understand it, the devotee just texted me. He said, sometimes he's in ignorance. It's interesting. At least he's honest. He's honest with himself. This particular devotee is not, doesn't have any sahaja tendency. I'm not worried about him becoming a gopi. So, anyway, we'll not mention his name. Protect the innocent. Let's get back to the point. So if we try to have a concept in our mind of spiritual reality, we're going to invariably impose mentally material concepts upon that concept. I hope everyone understands. We're materially conditioned. You may not be, speaking, that's why. So I may be offending some people. So, but if you are materially conditioned, then you anytime you picture these things, you will actually be imposing, unless it's just the sound vibration itself, without any speculation. So let's say, if I picture right now, I put myself into the rasa dance, which I definitely don't want to be there. Maybe with a quadcopter or drone, hovering above, so I can take some nice pictures and we can have in the temple room. So, but let's say if I try to picture, what if I was in the rasa dance, or what if I was Krishna's mother chastising him, or not mother, because no one could become Mother Yashoda, but at least assisting Mother Yashoda. Or what if I was playing with Krishna and the cows? Okay, there he is, bkgoswami Goswami playing with Krishna and the cows. I'm going to be imposing my material ideas upon it. And with that imposition, let's go to the next sentence, you will conceive a material form of the Lord. So I'll be imposing my concept of material forms upon the form of the Lord. And then, ultimately, this is an interesting thing. One may get to the point, I'm afraid of that material form. I may negate it. So anyway, so it doesn't necessarily have to happen in that particular way. But the main thing is, previous to this, if we try to deliberate on Shuddha Sattva, at this time we will impose material gunas and material forms upon it. The imposition in our mind. Sorry, it's in the mind we're talking about right now, not physically. Being afraid of that material, you will then negating that form, you will imagine Brahman without qualities. Thus you'll be cheated of the supreme tattva. So when certain people fall into that particular fallacy, they start to think of Krishna's form, and they think, but how can he have a form? He's God, It's impossible. Because Krishna's form is achincha, inconceivable. But we are so proud that we think we can conceive of it. Even Lord Brahma, who saw Krishna, saw the spiritual world, saw the Lord's pastimes, he says, others may say that they understand Krishna, but I don't. Prabhu, a little bit of humility here. The problem with the Sahajism is that there's not the humility to think that, am I qualified? I mean, actually reveal something about my own self. Not that I'm very advanced, but I pray to Krishna to let me become a servant of Srila Prabhupada. Or let me please Prabhupada. And I know everything's accomplished. If that's there, then all realizations will come, instead of trying to impose my material self upon the spiritual realm. But actually, you're putting yourself in the spiritual realm when you put yourself as a servant of Krishna's servants. Then you know you're on safe grounds, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. So, I know. Preaching to the choir who's singing off tune. All right, so, sorry for the humor. There's no possibility of the faults you mentioned in the spiritual medium-sized form, Krishna's form. No form or no transformation, no activity, all these qualities are a negation of Maya's qualities. In other words, if you say that there's no form, no transformation, no activity, that's not a positive understanding. It's a negation. Spirituality doesn't mean to negate materiality, if you can coin a word. It basically means the opposite. The opposite of material form is a spiritual form. The opposite of material form is not no form. That's simply a negation. There's a difference between opposite and a negation. The opposite of material activities is spiritual activities, are spiritual activities. But there are different types of quality. Another type of quality is the pure spiritual form of the Lord, which is beautiful. Wearing pleasing cloth endowed with lotus eyes, with lotus feet that bestow peace, with limbs suitable for graceful gestures. Both these types of qualities take shelter in the excellent medium-sized form of Krishna. Wonderful, wonderful description. Narada Panchratra says, Nirdosha Purnaguna Vigrahatmatantre Nischaitananatmaka Sharira Gunaishahina Anandamatra Karapara Mukhodarati Sarvatracha Swagata Bena Vivarjitatma. The Lord has a form with faultless, perfect qualities. He is independent. He is devoid of all the qualities of the material body. His hands, feet, face, and belly are all bliss. He is devoid of internal difference everywhere. Internal difference means his body is all blissful. Satchidananda. That's why yesterday we chanted this song, Madhuram, 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 Krishna's bliss, this is bliss, his belly is bliss, the folds of his belly are bliss, his face is bliss, his eyes are bliss. They're sweet there in that particular verse. Bliss. What does bliss mean? Bliss means basically overwhelming pleasure, overwhelming happiness. Happiness is one thing, but when it's overwhelming, it's called bliss. Krishna's form is Sat or Sach Chit Ananda. It means eternity, bliss, and knowledge. That's his form. It has no material gunas, qualities, or matter. It is not controlled by material space or time. We don't know what that means. I mean, we know theoretically what it means, but really to grasp the concept of someone not controlled by material space or time, you cannot conceive of that. Or maybe you can. All glories to you. But a conditioned soul can't conceive of that. They can accept it on faith, but they can't conceive of it because our ability to conceive at the present time is bound by the three modes of nature. Be humble enough to understand that. Sahajism is a fault of humility. Yeah, what's the problem with being humble? It's a relief that you don't have to think of yourself in a way that you know is not true. Okay. It exists everywhere and at all times simultaneously in a complete manner. So Krishna also exists everywhere because everything's within Krishna, and also separate, simultaneously. How can someone be greater than the greatest and smaller than the smallest? I don't know. But that's Krishna. That form is complete without duality, the Swarupa, the form of knowledge. That's one aspect, Satchitananda. In this material world, space, that is dik or direction in this particular case, is an immeasurable material element. Let's say unlimited space. According to its quality, a medium-sized measurable form cannot be all-pervading. It's not possible. Let's say anything. Let's pick up something. All right, here's one of my favorite objects, a mobile phone. And all of you love the mobile phone too. So it's medium-sized, I guess so. It's definitely not all-pervading. How can this be all-pervading? Doesn't make sense. But Krishna, in the spiritual world, all qualities are unrestricted, unlimited. Thus, Krishna's medium-sized form is all-pervading. Think about that for a second. Krishna is the original form. It's all-pervading. And that was proved when Yashodamai looked in Krishna's face after Krishna was supposedly guilty of eating dirt, being accused by Balaram. I looked in his mouth, and she saw everything within his mouth, including herself. Oh my God. And Krishna. So, how's that possible? Don't ask me. This is the Chinta Shakti, Achincha. Let's just love Krishna. People try to analyze things so much. It just drives me crazy. That, intellectuals, they get into such a heavy analytical frame of mind. It's like Prabhupada told the story about two intellectuals who were walking by a tree, an apple tree, I guess, or something, and the apple had fallen from the tree, and the intellectuals had a discussion of how the apple fell, whether it was the wind or whether it was whatever reason, or someone cut it, and they were having this discussion about the apple, or even let's take it a little further. They were discussing the qualities of an apple, back and forth. What is it made out of? The skin of the apple, the seeds of the apple. They were doing a thorough analysis, plant analysis. And so they just walked and walked and walked. And the devotee came by and he saw the apple, picked it up, and he offered it to Krishna, of course, and ate it. So all pervasiveness is one quality. The material world does not reside in an object of medium size, or even an object of large size, or even an object of small size, but it resides in Krishna's beautiful spiritual form. This is the form's extraordinary quality. This is the glory of spiritual form. Can this glory exist in the all-pervading Brahman? No, the all-pervading Brahman is not smaller than the smallest, bigger than the biggest. Qualities in the material world are within space and time. If one equates an object which is free from time by its nature, the Lord, to the all pervading sky existing within space and time, what type of glorification is that? In other words, yeah, you say Krishna is all pervading, and you just like equate it and think Krishna therefore is impersonal. It doesn't work like that because the spiritual realm is beyond space and time, which you don't understand. You got that through your thick skulls? You don't understand. Achincha. Again, I'm going to use that word, achincha. This is a very interesting, important understanding. Both to avoid the Mayavad or impersonal conception of the absolute. Thinking, like many people come to me and they say, oh, God had it. Not devotees, but if you say God appeared, that's just a manifestation of the Brahman, because the actual most important thing they'll say to me is that all pervading, and Brahman sometimes manifests in a limited form. But that's not really the point. Krishna's form is not a manifestation of Brahman. Brahman is a manifestation, comes from Krishna. Krishna says in the Gita, Brahmano hi pratishtaham. So, very common misunderstanding. And then on the other hand, devotees, there's the sahaja thing where you think that you understand it. We should love Krishna. But what does love mean? Love is not simply, Krishna's really cool. He's all pervading. He's localized, medium form. That's tattva. Fine. But love is the desire to please Rishikena, Rishikesha Sevanam. Isn't it? Sarvo Parivanir Bhuktam Tatprat Rayana Nirmalam Rishikena Rishikesha Sevanam Bhakti Uchate. That's serving Krishna as pure devotee. That's love. Okay. All right. I think it is time. Hope I didn't shock anyone with this class, but again, it's important points. A cross to everybody. So we'll continue tomorrow, and we'll take some questions from the audience. Audience, that's interesting. Audience. Okay, audience. It's like we're a performer. Audience, devotees. So who has some questions? You could raise your hands. Don't worry, I won't get heavy with you. You
I
can
have a
raise your.
question.
All right, you have a question.
In my basement too. So, speaking about the Sahajanism and all that, so we see where it'd be easy to lose that missionary spirit that Prabhupada so much emphasized by trying to enjoy that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So what's the point?
So how can we, because we need the balance of having nice, sweet kirtans and all that, but
Oh
sometimes,
yeah. Yeah, no, the kirtans are nice. Devotional service, bhajan, kirtan, wonderful. I'm not going railing against our process of devotional service. I'm just
or
talking
how
about the
not to get into
I'm
the
talking about the
imbalance.
conception. I'm just talking about the conception of oneself.
Well, I'm just thinking like, because
I'm just talking about the conception of oneself. I mean, we love to hear Krishna Katha. That's wonderful. We love to hear about Krishna's pastimes in Vrindavan. We love to hear about Krishna's pastimes in killing the demons. We love to hear about Krishna's pastimes. Whatever Krishna does, we love to hear. Krishna Katha is always nice. I was talking about the mental concepts of projecting yourself into the realm of the absolute when you're influenced by mind. That's what I'm talking about. We should
yeah, I was
chase
just
it.
thinking
We should
that
chase after Krishna Katha. Whenever there's Krishna Katha, bona fide Krishna Katha, that's wonderful. I mean, Not that I was speaking against Krishna Katha. You have to be careful
Well,
not to.
no, I was thinking more we can get into that, and then if we
Then we
get
forget
into
about everything.
not
Well, that's
being
not.
balanced, then in our minds we can start.
Yeah,
mm,
the whole idea is to be compassionate to others, and the way we develop compassion is also by hearing Krishna Katha. So, but if I sit and become a Babaji and hear Krishna Katha all day long, that's a little problematic. Unless, I'm getting at the point of death and I can't do anything else in life. So there's, different strokes for different folkies. Okay, any other questions? Someone else should ask a question. Question? Oh my God, I must have shocked everybody. I apologize. So, who else has a question? We got 5 or 6 more.
Accept my humble obeisances.
Okay, Rakesh. So, what's the question?
Question, Gurudev, like after doing like 16 rounds of chanting daily and doing your like uh, bare minimum sadhana every day, what I can do, if I feel that I'm not doing like I feel I'm not progressing, then what to do? Like, you know, you have to go to work also, so you don't have much time to mitigate these.
Serve the Vaishnavas. Serve the Vaishnavas. Whatever time you have, whatever money you have, whatever intelligence you have, use it to serve Krishna's devotees who are dedicated their lives to spreading Krishna consciousness. Whatever extra time you have. Yes, you have to work to maintain the body. Nobody can live without it. All right?
Gurudev, thank you.
Okay, someone else asked me a question which remained nameless. He said, up until today, I suspected that I didn't understand Krishna. He said, now my suspicions are confirmed. I mean, we understand certain things about Krishna, that's a fact. Oops, I'm becoming blurry. Maybe I'm entering into the spiritual world. Anyway, so maybe it's a spiritual picture. It's a picture of my soul. So we can understand certain things about Krishna, but really to comprehend the totality of Krishna, like it's really beyond our ability. I mean, if we have spiritual vision and everything like that, we can begin to appreciate Krishna, but Krishna is unlimited, so even in the spiritual world, will you actually understand everything about Krishna? Because he's unlimited, unlimited strength, unlimited beauty. Who can even understand Krishna's beauty? It's unlimited. So, like Lord Brahma said, as I quoted before, he says, others may say they understand Krishna, but I don't. And Lord Brahma is the head of our sampradaya. So, like Brahma, Madhva, Gaudiya, Sampradaya. So, who else has a question? Questions? We have 3 more minutes. No other questions. Okay. Going once. And then we'll see everybody tomorrow, same time, same station. Today's class was really interesting for me, at least. All the different points that Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur was making about Krishna. His medium-sized body, which is interesting. Krishna's medium size. Because for some people, is big body, and other people, small body. And at least from their perspective. Okay, on that happy note, we'll see everybody tomorrow. All glory is to His divine grace. A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami.